Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure we've all heard it at some point. Women can't resist men who detach. Sounds a little controversial, doesn't it? I mean, we've been told our entire lives that love is about being all in, giving your time, your attention, your energy. But what if I told you that sometimes the best way to ignite attraction and deepen a relationship is by stepping back? Now, I know what you're thinking. Matthew, you've lost your mind. Are you telling me that I should ignore her, play games, or just pull away to make her want me? No. I'm not suggesting that at all. What I'm saying is something much deeper and far more powerful than simply detaching as a tactic. It's about creating space for yourself, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes physically, that allows her to recognize your value and truly appreciate what you bring to the table. Let me break this down for you. First, when we're constantly available, constantly texting, constantly chasing, we can end up coming across as needy or too eager. And no one wants that. It's human nature. People are drawn to value, not need. When you detach, you're showing her that your life doesn't revolve around her. You have your own goals, your own passions, your own world. And that is incredibly attractive. Now, this doesn't mean playing games or being a jerk. This isn't about ignoring her to make her miss you. It's about setting boundaries. It's about having a life of your own that she can respect and admire. It's about having self-confidence and self-respect to know that your time is valuable and you won't just drop everything at the drop of a hat. But let me be crystal clear. Detaching isn't about being cold or distant. It's about being grounded and emotionally available, but not dependent on her for validation. There's a subtle but powerful difference. When you can stand on your own, when you can thrive independently, you become magnetic. Think of it this way. Imagine you're holding a treasure chest. You're not going to stand there waving it in her face, shouting, "Hey, look at this, look at me." No, you stand there, holding it with calm assurance, knowing that she'll have to earn the chance to see what's inside. And when she does, it's going to be far more valuable than if she'd simply had access to it right away. When it comes to building healthy, attractive relationships, one of the most powerful things you can do is prioritize your own life. It sounds simple, but it's often one of the most overlooked aspects of maintaining a strong sense of self, especially in the early stages of dating. In a world where instant communication and constant connection are the norms, it's easy to fall into the trap of revolving your world around someone else. But when you prioritize your own life, not only do you maintain your independence, but you also create an environment where a potential partner can see your value and want to invest in your relationship. First and foremost, focusing on your own life means being clear about your personal goals and passions. Whether it's your career, personal development, fitness, or creative pursuits, having things that matter to you outside of a romantic relationship gives you a solid foundation. People are attracted to individuals who are driven and passionate about what they do. When you dedicate time and energy to things that are important to you, you naturally radiate a sense of purpose and fulfillment. This isn't just about being busy or occupied. It's about showing that your identity and happiness are not solely tied to someone else's approval or attention. Moreover, when you prioritize your own life, you begin to develop a deeper sense of self-respect. You stop looking for validation from others, including the person you're dating. This is crucial because dependency on another person for self-worth can create an unhealthy dynamic in a relationship. It can lead to feelings of insecurity, clinginess, or worse, trying to mold yourself into someone you're not just to gain someone's approval. Instead, when you maintain your own goals, values, and aspirations, you offer your partner something far more valuable. An authentic connection built on mutual respect and admiration, not neediness or dependency. It's also important to recognize that relationships should be a complement to your life, not a substitute for it. If your entire sense of happiness or fulfillment comes from a romantic partner, that puts a lot of pressure on the relationship. You're essentially asking the other person to fill a gap that no one else can fill. This can lead to dissatisfaction and frustration on both sides. Relationships should enhance your life, not be the only source of your happiness. When you have your own passions and hobbies, you bring more to the table. Your partner can appreciate you for who you are, not just for how much you give them emotionally or how much attention you offer. Additionally, prioritizing your own life helps you maintain a balanced relationship dynamic. When you're constantly available, when you've given up your time and energy to cater to the other person, you run the risk of creating an imbalance. This can sometimes lead to a one-sided relationship where your partner may feel overwhelmed or take your availability for granted. By maintaining your own interests, friends, and commitments, you create a healthy boundary that allows the relationship to develop organically without unnecessary pressure. It also fosters respect between you and your partner because you're showing that you value your own time and space as much as you value theirs. Another benefit of focusing on your own life is that it gives you the opportunity to grow as an individual. The best relationships are built on two people who are constantly evolving and supporting each other's growth. If you stop focusing on your own development, your partner may feel like they're in a relationship with someone who is stagnant or lacking in ambition. By consistently improving yourself, whether through learning new skills, pursuing your passions, or growing emotionally, you're not only becoming a better version of yourself, but you're also becoming a more interesting and attractive partner. Lastly, when you prioritize your own life, you create space for the other person to pursue their own goals as well. Healthy relationships thrive on mutual respect and independence. If both people are living their own lives, they're more likely to come together from a place of choice rather than need. This fosters an environment where both individuals can thrive together without the weight of one person feeling obligated to complete the other. Instead, both individuals feel fulfilled and are better equipped to contribute to the relationship in meaningful ways. In conclusion, prioritizing your own life doesn't mean you have to push love or relationships aside. It means recognizing that your happiness, success, and fulfillment come from within, and you should never compromise your values or passions for the sake of someone else. When you dedicate time to your own goals, passions, and growth, you become a stronger, more self-assured individual. Not only does this make you more attractive, but it also helps build healthier, more balanced relationships. By living your life fully and authentically, you'll naturally draw the right kind of people who can appreciate you for who you truly are, and together you can build a connection that's deep, lasting, and meaningful. One of the most common mistakes people make in relationships is over pursuing the other person. In today's world, where instant communication is so easy and accessible, it's tempting to send constant texts, make frequent calls, and always be available. However, over-pursuing can be a major turnoff, and it can actually have the opposite effect of what you're hoping for. Rather than drawing someone closer to you, it can create distance and a sense of pressure that might push them away. Learning to strike the right balance between showing interest and maintaining your own space is essential for fostering healthy and attractive relationships. Over-pursuing happens when you start to rely too heavily on the other person for validation, or you feel the need to reach out excessively to ensure they don't forget about you or to constantly remind them of how much you like them. While it's normal to feel excited about someone you're interested in, the key to maintaining attraction is being able to control your impulses and manage your emotions with a sense of balance. The truth is, relationships are built on respect for each other's time and space. When you over-pursue, you are essentially sending the message that you are desperate for their attention, and this can undermine your own value in their eyes. One of the core reasons why over-pursuing doesn't work is because it often leads to neediness. Neediness is not an attractive quality, and it comes across as though you are looking for the other person to fill a void in your life. It may seem harmless at first, but constant texting or calling can quickly become overwhelming. Your partner may start to feel like they are under pressure to reciprocate your level of attention, which can lead them to feel stressed, frustrated, or even suffocate. This creates an unhealthy dynamic where you are dependent on their responses to feel good about yourself, and they feel burdened by the expectation to constantly reassure you. Attraction works in a way that allows both individuals to have their own lives, interests, and passions. If you are always available to someone, it might give the impression that you have nothing else going on. This can make you seem less interesting and less independent. When you stop over-pursuing, you send a clear message that your time is valuable. You have your own life, your own commitments, and you aren't going to drop everything just to chase after someone. This, in turn, makes you more attractive because it shows that you value yourself and respect your own time. Moreover, the principle of less is more applies here. The more you chase someone, the less they might appreciate you because the effort is too easy. Relationships are more about quality. than quantity. Instead of bombarding the other person with constant messages or calls, try to focus on creating meaningful interactions. This is where the art of giving space comes into play. By allowing your partner the freedom to pursue their own interests and take their own time to respond, you create a sense of anticipation and excitement. This is a natural dynamic that encourages both individuals to maintain their independence while still investing in each other. In addition, over-pursuing can lead to unrealistic expectations and unnecessary stress. When you're constantly seeking validation from the other person, you start to put pressure on them to fulfill emotional needs that should ideally be met by yourself. This can create an imbalance in the relationship where you expect too much too soon. It's essential to remember that relationships take time to grow and develop, and they cannot be rushed. Everyone has their own pace when it comes to emotional connection, and forcing or rushing that process can lead to dissatisfaction or even resentment. Another important aspect of not over-pursuing is being patient and allowing the relationship to unfold naturally. Real attraction and deep connections are built over time. By over-pursuing, you risk forcing something that isn't ready to grow at its own pace. Instead, allow the relationship to evolve naturally by being confident in the process and focusing on your own life interests and goals. This doesn't mean being distant or indifferent. It simply means not forcing things to move faster than they should. In doing so, you create a more authentic, organic bond that stands the test of time. In conclusion, the key to attraction in any relationship is maintaining a sense of balance. Over-pursuing creates pressure and neediness, which can lead to frustration and even distance. Instead of chasing after someone, focus on living your life fully, being emotionally independent, and giving the other person the space to come toward you when they're ready. When you stop over pursuing, you will not only increase your own self-respect, but you will also build a more meaningful and lasting connection. So remember, when it comes to relationships, less is often more, and patience and balance are the keys to success. Creating emotional boundaries is one of the most crucial yet often overlooked aspects of building healthy relationships. It's easy to get swept up in the excitement of a new connection or feel overwhelmed by the intensity of emotions when things are going well. But if you don't set clear emotional boundaries, it can lead to unhealthy dynamics, misunderstandings, and ultimately burnout. Emotional boundaries are the invisible lines that protect your mental and emotional well-being. They allow you to engage in a relationship without losing yourself or relying too heavily on the other person for validation. First, let's define what emotional boundaries are. Simply put, emotional boundaries are the limits you set on how much of your emotions you share with others and how much emotional energy you allow someone to influence or take from you. It's about protecting your heart and mind from being overwhelmed by the feelings or reactions of others. It doesn't mean shutting people out or being cold, but rather managing how much emotional weight you allow others to place on you and how much of your emotional world you open up to them. These boundaries help you maintain your sense of self, so you don't lose yourself in someone else's emotions or behaviors. One of the first reasons why creating emotional boundaries is essential is because it allows you to preserve your emotional energy. When you don't have clear boundaries, you might find yourself overextending emotionally, either by giving too much or by letting someone else's emotions negatively impact your own. You might feel like you're constantly absorbing the other person's mood swings, stress, or emotional baggage, which can leave you feeling drained and disconnected from your own needs. By setting emotional boundaries, you ensure that you protect your energy, making space for the relationship to thrive in a healthy way. Additionally, creating emotional boundaries allows you to establish a sense of self-worth that is independent of the other person. Many people fall into the trap of seeking constant emotional validation from others, often because they want to feel loved, desired, or important. However, relying too heavily on someone else's approval or emotional responses can make you vulnerable to manipulation, neglect, or insecurity. When you set emotional boundaries, you make it clear that your sense of self-worth doesn't hinge on the other person's behavior or reactions. You are responsible for your own emotional well-being, and you should not let someone else's mood swings, criticisms, or expectations dictate how you feel about yourself. It's important to note that setting emotional boundaries doesn't mean you become emotionally distant or detached. It's not about building walls or refusing to share your feelings with someone you care about. Instead, it's about learning how to communicate your needs and feelings in a way that honors both your emotions and the other person's. You can still be emotionally open and vulnerable, but it's essential to do so in a way that doesn't make you feel overwhelmed or emotionally dependent. For example, if you feel overwhelmed by a situation or conversation, it's okay to set boundaries by saying, I need some time to process my emotions right now, or let's take a break and talk about this later when I'm feeling clearer. Another significant aspect of creating emotional boundaries is knowing when to say no. In relationships, there are times when you might feel pressure to give more than you are comfortable with, whether it's time, attention, or emotional energy. Setting boundaries means recognizing your limits and learning to say no when you need to. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person or a selfish partner. It simply means that you are respecting yourself enough to not overextend yourself emotionally. You can still be loving and supportive, but you also have the right to take care of your own emotional needs without guilt or fear of disappointing the other person. Creating emotional boundaries also involves being aware of unhealthy behaviors, such as emotional manipulation or gaslighting. When someone tries to manipulate your emotions or make you doubt your reality, it's important to recognize these signs and protect your emotional space. Manipulative behaviors can cause you to second-guess yourself, feel confused, or doubt your own feelings. By setting strong emotional boundaries, you gain the ability to stand firm in your emotional truth and recognize when someone is trying to cross those boundaries. You can then address the situation calmly, setting limits on what you're willing to accept. Lastly, emotional boundaries help foster a healthy sense of mutual respect and balance in the relationship. When both partners understand and respect each other's emotional limits, the relationship becomes more stable and fulfilling. It allows both individuals to share their feelings openly without fear of judgment, rejection, or overwhelming the other person. Emotional boundaries encourage both parties to take responsibility for their own emotions and not expect the other person to fix them or carry the emotional burden. In conclusion, creating emotional boundaries is not only about protecting yourself from harm, but also about promoting mutual respect and balance in relationship. By knowing your limits and communicating them effectively, you ensure that your emotional well-being is prioritized, which ultimately leads to a healthier and more fulfilling connection. Emotional boundaries allow you to give and receive love without losing yourself in the process. They help you stay true to your own values, emotions, and needs, while also fostering a space for the other person to do the same. In the end, emotional boundaries are the foundation of any strong, healthy relationship, one that is built on mutual understanding, respect, and emotional integrity. Being selective with your attention is one of the most effective strategies for creating balance and maintaining healthy relationships. In a world that constantly demands our focus, whether it's through social media, work, or the numerous people vying for our attention, it's easy to fall into the trap of giving our energy to everyone and everything. But when you give away your attention too freely, you risk diluting its value. And in relationships, this can lead to being taken for granted, feeling drained, or even losing sight of what truly matters. By being more intentional and selective about where you direct your attention, you not only protect your emotional and mental well-being, but you also create an aura of scarcity and value that draws others toward you in a meaningful way. First, let's understand why attention is such a valuable resource. In the modern world, attention is limited and finite. We only have so many hours in a day, and our capacity to focus is finite. Our time and energy are precious, and how we choose to allocate them speaks volumes about our priorities. When we give our attention too freely or to too many things, it spreads thin and loses its power. You end up with a scattered focus, leaving you less present, less engaged, and less effective in whatever it is you're doing. This can create a sense of unfulfillment as you're constantly dividing your energy between different demands, leaving little room to fully invest in what truly matters, whether it's your work, your personal growth, or your relationships. Being selective with your attention helps you invest more deeply in the things that align with your values and goals. In relationships, being selective with your attention is an essential part of maintaining healthy dynamics. If you're constantly available to someone over time, your attention loses its value. The more you give, the less appreciated your presence becomes. It's the principle of supply and demand. When something is abundant, it's often taken for granted. If you're always at the other person's beck and call, constantly texting, calling, or dropping everything to be there, you risk coming across as needy or dependent. This isn't a criticism of being supportive or caring, but rather a reminder that when you're always available, the other person might not feel the desire to pursue you or appreciate you as much. They'll come to expect it, and that expectation will diminish the impact of your attention. Being selective with your attention also helps establish boundaries. When you choose where to direct your energy, you send a clear message that your time is valuable and that you won't just give it away to anyone who demands it. In the context of relationships, this can help you avoid unhealthy dynamics such as emotional dependency or an imbalance where one partner relies too heavily on the other for emotional support, validation, or company. When both individuals are able to be selective with their attention, it fosters a sense of mutual respect and balance. Each person recognizes the importance of the other's time and doesn't take it for granted. Moreover, when you're selective about where you direct your attention, you create space for quality rather than quantity in your interactions. It's far more meaningful to spend time with someone when you're truly present, engaged, and focused on them, rather than when you're distracted or spread too thin. This deep, focused attention fosters emotional connection, trust, and intimacy. People are drawn to those who can be fully present with them, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. By choosing when and how you give your attention, you give yourself the opportunity to engage in more meaningful, fulfilling interactions rather than surface level exchanges. Another crucial aspect of being selective with your attention is protecting your own energy. In relationships, it's easy to get swept up in the other person's needs and emotions, particularly if you're someone who is empathetic or caring by nature. However, if you constantly give away your attention without taking the time to care for yourself, you can become emotionally drained or resentful. It's essential to prioritize self-care and self-preservation by learning when to step back and recharge. By being selective with where you put your energy, you maintain the emotional reserves needed to show up in relationships with a full heart rather than one that feels empty or depleted. Being selective with your attention also ties into your overall life goals and priorities. If you're constantly giving your attention to people, events, or situations that don't align with your values or long-term objectives, you risk losing sight of what truly matters. Whether it's your career, health, personal growth, or relationships, maintaining a clear sense of purpose requires you to focus on the things that contribute to your growth and fulfillment. When you allow your attention to be pulled in multiple directions, you lose the ability to stay focused on your own journey. Being intentional about where you place your focus helps you stay aligned with your purpose and ensures that your energy is contributing to the life you want to build. In relationships, being selective with your attention also means being discerning about who you invest your time and energy in. Not everyone deserves your full attention, and not every relationship is worth your emotional investment. By setting standards for the type of people you give your focus to, you ensure that you're surrounding yourself with individuals who respect your boundaries, value your time, and are capable of offering you the same level of attention in return. This doesn't mean cutting people off or being cold, but rather being mindful of the relationships that bring you joy, fulfillment, and growth, and recognizing when someone might not be serving your best interests. In conclusion, being selective with your attention is a powerful way to protect your energy, establish healthy boundaries, and create deeper, more meaningful connections with others. By choosing where to focus your time and emotional investment, you elevate your own sense of worth and attract people who value you and respect your time. In relationships, your attention becomes a valuable currency, one that should be offered thoughtfully and intentionally. When you do this, not only do you preserve your own well-being, but you also foster a sense of respect and appreciation that enriches every connection you make.